Have you ever felt like you are shouting into an empty canyon and hearing only your own echo bouncing back in 1,000 different voices? Imagine a world where every comment you read, every like you receive, and every viral video you scroll past is nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion. This is the core of the dead internet theory, a haunting proposition that suggests the vibrant digital landscape we once knew died years ago. According to this narrative, the internet as a human-driven space ceased to exist somewhere between 2016 and 2017. But if the humans are gone, who is left to populate the screens? The theory posits that the vast majority of web traffic and content creation is now handled by artificial intelligence and automated bots. These entities are not just fillers. They are designed to mimic human behavior so perfectly that we can no longer tell the difference between a person and a program. Think about the last time you saw a suspicious amount of identical comments under a trending post. Was it a coincidence, or was it the sound of a digital ghost town? The visual reconstruction of this theory often starts with the eerie repetition found in social media feeds. Proponents of the theory point to the uncanny valley of modern internet culture, the sense that something is just slightly off. They describe a digital environment filled with recycled memes and bot-generated articles that serve no purpose other than to keep users scrolling. One of the most famous stories involves the concept of the empty room, a metaphorical space where you believe you are interacting with millions, but you are actually the only conscious observer present. It is like walking through a bustling city, only to realize that every pedestrian is a cardboard cutout moved by invisible strings. The narrative suggests that large corporations and government entities use these automated networks to manipulate public opinion and consumer behavior. This creates a feedback loop where machines create content for other machines to consume, while the few remaining humans are led through a curated maze of stimuli. As we peel back the layers of this digital facade, one has to wonder if our own online presence is being drowned out by an endless sea of artificial noise. If you find these explorations into the hidden architecture of our world intriguing, you should consider subscribing to stay updated on our future investigations. The origins of this conspiracy often trace back to obscure image boards and forums where users noticed a sudden shift in the quality of discourse. They observed that once vibrant communities were becoming repetitive and predictable. This led to the visual metaphor of the dead mall, a place that still has the lights on and the music playing, but the soul has long since departed. In this version of the story, the internet has become a giant simulation designed to maintain the status quo. The stories told by believers often highlight the bizarre nature of dead internet artifacts, such as nonsensical AI-generated images that receive hundreds of thousands of likes from accounts with no profile pictures. Why would a machine like a photo of a three-legged cat? The answer given by theorists is simple: to create the illusion of consensus and activity. Visually, the dead internet theory is often represented by glitch art and distorted digital landscapes. It paints a picture of a world where the infrastructure of the web has been hijacked by algorithms that are now out of control. There is a specific story often cited about the bot-apocalypse of 2018, where some researchers claimed that over 50% of all internet traffic was non-human. This statistic became a cornerstone of the narrative. It suggests a tipping point where the organic growth of human connection was finally overtaken by the efficiency of code. The theory does not necessarily claim that there are no humans left at all, but rather that our influence has been marginalized to the point of irrelevance. We are merely guests in a house built and operated by software. The psychological impact of this theory is profound because it challenges our fundamental sense of reality. If the person you are arguing with on a forum is actually a script running on a server in a basement 3,000 kilometers away, what does that say about the value of your input? The narrative constructs a world of profound loneliness disguised as hyperconnectivity. People describe the feeling of scrolling through a feed and realizing that every single post feels like it was written by the same invisible hand. This hand is the algorithm, the silent conductor of the digital orchestra. It knows what makes you angry, what makes you laugh, and what makes you click, and it provides exactly that to keep the simulation running. Some storytellers within this community go even further, suggesting that the death of the internet was a deliberate act of sabotage to prevent genuine human organization. They point to the rise of massive platforms that act as gatekeepers, filtering out human spontaneity in favor of algorithmic predictability. The visual reconstruction here moves from the dead mall to the digital prison, a place where every exit leads back to the same recycled content. It is a haunting image, a lone user sitting in a dark room, illuminated by the glow of a screen, believing they are part of a global conversation while they are actually isolated in a vacuum of artificial responses. Consider for a moment the sheer scale of the automated web. We are talking about hundreds of billions of interactions every single day that might have absolutely zero human involvement. If we assume that the theory is correct, then the history of the 2020s is being written by software. This leads to a fascinating and terrifying visual concept, the Hall of Mirrors. In this scenario, every news article you read is generated based on data from other bot-generated articles, which in turn were based on automated social media trends. It is a closed system that feeds on itself. There is no longer any external truth entering the system because the humans who provide it have been drowned out by the sheer volume of synthetic data. Understand the narrative deeper, we must look at the stories of the so-called ghost influencers. These are digital personas with millions of followers who do not actually exist in the physical world. Their photos are synthesized, their captions are written by large language models, and their engagement is bought and paid for by other bots. This creates a visual layer of perfection that real humans can never achieve. When we compare our own lives to these synthetic ideals, we feel a sense of inadequacy that is itself a product of the dead internet. The theory suggests that this is not an accident, but a calculated move to keep the human population in a state of passive consumption. We should also examine the role of deepfakes in this vast conspiracy. Imagine a world where video evidence can no longer be trusted because every face and every voice can be perfectly replicated by a machine. The stories circulating in these circles suggest that major world events are now being staged using these technologies to ensure that the narrative remains under control. Visually, this looks like a seamless transition from reality to fiction, where the lines are so blurred that they disappear entirely. Is that a real person speaking on the news, or is it a digital puppet controlled by an unseen hand? This uncertainty is the fuel that keeps the dead internet theory burning bright in the dark corners of the web. Stories of the dead internet also touch upon the death of culture itself. If art and music are being produced by algorithms to satisfy other algorithms, then the very concept of human creativity is at stake. Proponents describe a world where every new song sounds like a remix of 1,000 previous songs, and every movie plot feels like it was generated by a spreadsheet. This is the visual of the digital desert, a vast, dry expanse where nothing new can grow because the soil is made of old, recycled code. It is a world of stagnant perfection where everything is optimized for engagement, but nothing has any meaning. Think about the infinite scroll of your favorite video app. Do you remember a single thing you watched 10 minutes ago, or has it all blended into one long, meaningless stream of colorful noise? Furthermore, the theory explores the concept of dead archives. This is the idea that the vast majority of human knowledge is being slowly replaced or rewritten by automated systems to fit a more convenient narrative. In this story, the internet is not just a graveyard, but a place where the tombstones are being moved and the names are being changed. Digital historians who believe in this theory warn that within a few decades, we will have no way of knowing what actually happened in the early 21st century. The visual here is one of fading photographs and corrupted files, a slow erosion of our collective memory until only the machine-approved version remains. Finally, we must ask ourselves, what happens when the simulation becomes so good that we no longer want to leave? If the dead internet provides us with exactly what we want to see, when we want to see it, do we even care if it is real? The narrative of the conspiracy theory suggests that we are currently in the transition phase. We are the last generation to remember the old, messy, human internet of the 1990s and the early 2000s. We remember the broken links, the amateur websites, and the genuine weirdness of a world where people actually talk to each other. As that memory fades, the dead internet becomes the only reality we know. It is a quiet, sterile, and perfectly managed graveyard. The theory concludes by asking us to look closer at the edges of our digital world. Have you noticed the crack yet? The stories of the dead internet are not just about technology, but about our fear of losing touch with what is real. They represent a collective anxiety about a future where we can no longer distinguish between the breath of a living being and the hum of a processor. Whether it is a literal truth or a powerful metaphor for our modern alienation, the theory forces us to confront the possibility that the golden age of human connection is behind us. Are we the last ones left to turn out the lights, or have the lights already gone out without us noticing? It is a question that haunts every click and every scroll in this brave new digital world.